All right, everybody, just 1 minute past 11 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. Again, if everybody could mute their phones for now, that'd be great. We are going to have some time at the end for some Q&A and follow-up. If you have any questions or want to explore a little bit deeper, myself and Andrew Von Eschen, who will be going through the demo here shortly, will be available. Again, this demo is being recorded, so if you'd like a second look at it, it will be put up on our website in due time, of course, but it will be recorded and also available if anybody arrives late, or if you want to share with anybody, you can go to eCapitalAdvisors.com within a couple of days and check it out there. We're actually on part 4, if you will, of these weekly demos. For those of you who have attended the previous ones, again, thank you for attending. I think so far some people are getting a lot out of these demos, and we are very excited to show you Watson Analytics. It's probably the solution that you're least familiar with. It's relatively new to the suite of business analytics via IBM. So Andrew Von Eschen and myself are very happy and excited to show you Watson Analytics here today. Again, we'll leave this slide up for a second here. Again, Spencer Tollickson, Solution Sales Specialist with eCapital. I will be your primary point of contact for all things Watson Analytics in this demo. So if you want a copy of the presentation, or if you want more of a custom demo, we're certainly available and happy to come on site and visit with you guys and show you this solution, or really any other solution, but particularly Watson. So my contact information listed below. We'll just leave this up for a couple more seconds. Yeah, let me know if you want a copy of the presentation. So in the ever-evolving world of technology and how it's changed, I get the feeling, talking to a lot of customers and prospects out there, as well as Andrew and myself, that everybody's always connected and there's so much data out there, and how can we try to wrap our head around all this data to make better business decisions, and the fact that we're always connected. This is what Watson Analytics allows us to do. We know about the obstacles considering all this data and the limitations. 38%, as you can see on the side, have a limited understanding of how to use the analytics and how to really capture that data. Also, the data prep is key, right? I mean, there's so many of us out there that need to go to multiple channels and avenues to prep this data to even be able to run any analytics off it and understand it. And then 24% of people, a lot of the people in the position of yourself, say that it's difficult to even find or get the data. So again, Watson Analytics, as we'll show you and talk about as this progresses, allows you to do that yourself. Some of the obstacles and limitations that we see, and you can probably all attest to this, you need a significant analytics skill currently to maybe explore some of this data. And again, the data exploration and the refinement capabilities, and really kind of the what happens next and forward thinking. Those are the limitations that we're all faced with today, and that Watson Analytics can really help solve. Another limitation that I'm sure you can all attest to is the fact that a lot of people have to be involved within internal organizations to try to understand and even get the data. If we go to the next one here, I mean, this confuses me just looking at it. You have to get so many different people within your organization involved to try to get a capture on the data to even run a quick report maybe 30 minutes before a meeting. And again, this is what Watson Analytics is great at. So Watson Analytics, for those of you who haven't heard about it, or maybe have heard about it via commercials, or was it Ken Jennings, Andrew, with Jeopardy,
Watson,
with
yep.
Watson Analytics, or with Watson, the supercomputer. So Watson Analytics really sits on top of Watson, the supercomputer. And it's really cross-functional and cross-dimensional. So the coolest thing that I found out about Watson Analytics, and Andrew's going to show you this, is the natural language and dialogue. It's really kind of scary at first, but once you wrap your head around it and really utilize that tool of the solution, it can be pretty cool. So Andrew will get to show you that more as we progress. It is a single interface. It's kind of the one-stop shop for all your dashboarding. It's got a predictive component, refining the data, and as well as exploring. But this is basically just kind of the look of the single interface that Andrew's going to walk through when the demo comes up. It is an enterprise-wide solution, so whether it's sales, marketing, finance, IT operations, or HR, if you want to have a, your procurement team wants to maybe look at inventory or pricing, sales analytics, it is an enterprise-wide solution, so it can be looked at in multiple ways. Yeah, so we can move on to the demo at this point. So I basically asked Andrew, I've given him a file and wanted him to run some analytics and data based on an inventory and shipment data set. So Andrew's going to buzz through the demo for you guys.
Perfect, perfect. Thanks, Spence.
Yep.
So I'm really excited, you guys, to kind of share with you what Watson Analytics is, what it looks like. But before I jump in there, I just want to kind of show you the output that Spencer has provided me, right? It's an Excel file. I've got 90,000 records, a lot of different data, right? Some corresponding info on products and time periods and years and cities, warehouse information. I know nothing about this, right? He's just provided it to me. We've got a meeting here at 11:30, and I just want to be able to provide him with some insight and answers as to what I find in this data. Maybe it's who's purchasing the most product, or what countries or cities, what colors are we selling a lot of, or what are we shipping a lot of, what are we sitting on, just lots of different things as far as how our warehouses are performing and the inventory. So I'm going to minimize this and actually pull up Watson and go ahead and grab this data. So as I'm doing that, I'll kind of explore and talk a little bit more about the interface, but I'm going to quickly come in and just start uploading my data. Now, the big thing here, and we kind of jumped over it a little bit, but for some of you guys who are utilizing IBM Cognos today, maybe you're a TM1 customer, right, we have a direct connection to those Cognos reports. We can actually grab data, maintain that governance that you guys all love and enjoy, as part of Cognos, from a reporting package and platform, and be able to grab that information and access it inside of Watson. So I'm actually going to pull this in. And what's going to happen here is as Watson Analytics is sucking in that data, you can notice it's starting to do, it's in kind of a transfer state. It's looking at that data, all of the columns, the rows, the information inside of there. Watson Analytics is analyzing that data. It's trying to find out and identify, what types of data do I have available? What are the measures? What's the relationships, the hierarchies? How is the data structured? What patterns should I be pointing out? It's actually going through and analyzing all of that information, so when I go in to do an exploration, it provides me with some guidance. The other thing here, you notice as it finished, it kicked out a score. So it's going through and it's scoring that data to tell me, hey, maybe you've got some null values, or you've got a full column that's missing data, or you've got some outliers, right? It's going through that and helping me understand how my data is, what it looks like, and how I can improve it and help refine that. The other big thing before I jump in is just kind of a lay of the land. So not only do I have the ability to do explorations, predictions, assemble or create dashboards, I can also go into social media. So I have the ability to pull feeds from places like Twitter, right? Go out and grab a hashtag on the business, or hashtag of something relevant to what's going on. Look up different trending topics, right? Be able to marry that in with my existing data that I have. And the last piece is refinement. So being able to take that data and do some manipulation myself, build out some hierarchies, some calculations inside of Watson Analytics, I have the ability to do all that. But let's just start off by simply clicking in that data set that I pulled in. And now what you notice is I have a starting point as I go in to do a quick exploration. I have the ability to ask a question, but Watson Analytics also looks at that data and helps me analyze or pinpoint on a couple key areas that I might want to focus on that inventory data, right? So maybe it's, what are the values of unit cost by country? What's the breakdown? You notice that there's some differences in how the questions are being phrased, and you notice that there's also some different chart types or some objects or images embedded behind each of those questions. So maybe I'm curious to know what the breakdown of quantity shipped by year and product line is. I simply click on this, and what Watson Analytics is doing is actually grabbing that data, producing a chart for me, right? So it's saying, based upon the data that you're looking at, the quantity shipped, the year, the product line, here is the recommended view of that information that I would suggest, right? So very quickly I can start to analyze and understand, personal accessories is selling pretty hot, camping equipment is selling pretty hot over the course of each year. I can see the different product lines. I can hover above and get some more information about it, right, to see that actual quantity. The other thing to take note in is the top bar running along the very top. So as I start interacting with this data and going from different views to start to understand it, this is all going to update and dynamically change to provide me with some additional context regarding the types of questions I'm asking. So all of these, if you notice, are about quantity shipped, right? So top country by quantity shipped. Quantity shipped product eyewear is the highest, or product type is eyewear. The lowest unit cost for product line is outdoor protection, right? A lot of different information that maybe it's another starting point that I would like to explore. Now, this is a good starting point for me. I kind of like this, but I really want to go back and kind of look at another view of that data. There's a lot more relevant information that I just simply want to go back to. So I'm going to jump back to that starting point. Now, I only saw kind of 4 kind of key areas or questions that I could have access to at the start, but I've got a full list of available items that I could jump to. So maybe it's closing inventory for each city, or I want to see the value of closing inventory by year and country. I can simply click in here and see that information. But I'm not a huge fan of this chart type. It doesn't really quite answer the question of quantity shipped. It doesn't help me understand kind of who's buying the most or what. So I can come down and actually change that visualization. Now, I haven't done anything with selecting fields or dragging and dropping things. I'm simply coming down and saying, you know what, I actually want to see this as an area chart. Now, Watson Analytics is going in the background and building that for me so I can better understand that information. Now, if I wanted to know a little bit more, not closing inventory, my question is more on that quantity shipped, I can simply click on that contribution at the top where it was highlighted blue and actually flip that over to, maybe it's that quantity shipped and actually see what we're shipping or closing or opening, and you notice that everything starts to dynamically change. So that helps me understand a little bit more of who's buying. It looks like Switzerland, the U.S. is done pretty well, Belgium's done pretty well, so those are a couple key areas that I might want to take back to Spencer and just say, hey, we're shipping a lot of products to these 3 countries. Maybe we should do a little bit more exploration further on to figure out kind of exactly what product lines we are shipping. Now, the other thing I was really curious about was kind of the connection between product line and countries. So maybe I want to know kind of who's buying what and how the interaction between the two is being defined. So this is kind of a new chart type. I personally, I think this is awesome to be able to have kind of a web to see the interactivity between each of these different product lines, the countries, and the relationship between the two being defined by that quantity. So I can actually see, between Switzerland and personal accessories, how many rows or how many units we're shipping between those. So just another very cool way to be able to visualize that data, as I've kind of been showing already with different pie charts and bubble charts and things like that. Now, as I scroll here, there's a couple other items that are pretty interesting to me. Quantity shipped by country up here in the very top. This is not something I started with, but it's something that Watson Analytics has identified as being of interest, right? As I've been clicking, these have been changing and dynamically choosing. So maybe I want to start an exploration based upon this and actually see what countries are shipping the most units, right? So once again, I'm kind of starting to paint that picture of Switzerland, Belgium, and the U.S. are kind of our key areas we might want to focus on. That's good for me to be able to relay that back to Spencer, but those are some of the key areas that I've identified right off the top, just by simply kind of selecting different objects and seeing what Watson Analytics can do for me. Now, as Spencer talked about, as we were getting going, the natural language processing, now this is really cool. And many of you guys will be like, well, I don't understand, Andrew. Tell me more about that. What is it? So think about going out to Google and you start typing in a question like, what is, and it starts to fill in the blank with top search results or where people have been pinging the most or hitting the most. Watson Analytics actually does that on your data. So it's going to be a little eerie and a little crazy to be able to actually ask a question of your data, not have to go in and start to explore it, but it just is going to return that result set for me. So, I talked a little bit about who's been buying the product, but I also want to know what colors we're selling of that product. So maybe I want to ask, a pretty simple question about, how does the quantity shipped, right? It's filling in the blanks. It's starting to get smarter. Quantity shipped differ by product. If I can spell color. Weird. Okay, it's starting to fill in the blanks for me as I haven't even asked the question. It's already going through and filling in that response for me. That's pretty crazy. So I just asked a very simple question, and you notice it's providing me with some answers. Andrew, do you want to see what are the values of quantity shipped for each product color? Well, that might be interesting. Or how do the values of quantity shipped compare by product color? Or what is the breakdown or the most relevant? So a lot of different starting points for me to actually be able to come in and see this information. So maybe I just want to start with the first one, this bubble chart. I simply click in and it's telling me, here are the highest values for each product color. So it looks like silver and black I've shipped significantly more of than, you know, red, white, brown, clear. But it's not super granular to me. I can't quite understand it. So maybe I'll just jump back and see if there's another way to visualize that. So maybe I'll start with the how do the values of quantity shipped compare. A little bit better. I can see that there's a couple more that have some real relevance. So clear, it looks like it's significantly higher than I thought before. Okay, that's good to know. Now, I've got that data, but I also want to be able to kind of do a forward thinking, you know, who's buying that, what impacts who's purchasing, or what colors are being shipped. Now that I've kind of seen, you know, that black, clear, silver, kind of the top three, I want to kind of know a little bit more about that, or if there's any, you know, any other columns inside my data that can help me understand where those reside. Maybe it's what brands we're selling the most of, what product types, what countries. So I'm going to simply come back to my home page here, and I'm going to build out a prediction on that information. So I'm going to simply come back and click on the Predict button, and it's going to enable me to choose a data set. So I'm going to pick out that inventory data that I just pulled in, and I'm going to give this a quick name. So maybe this is my inventory test for Spencer, and I can choose my target. So I have the ability to choose up to 5 different targets that I want to be able to run a prediction on. So if that prediction is my product color, and maybe it's just my overall quantity shipped, maybe those are the 2 that I really want to know more information about, I'm simply going to create this and let Watson Analytics build out that prediction for me. Now this will take a couple seconds. It's going through all 90,000 records. It's trying to run a whole bunch of different models in the background. I know nothing of it. I am not a very heavy statistical user, right? I can get the information if I want, all the details associated. But what Watson Analytics is going to do with this prediction is provide me a high-level overview of, you know, what are kind of the key inputs or impacts to my product color, my quantity shipped. It's going to provide some recommendations, build out some of that logic and those rules to help me understand, you know, what's driving that, what's driving the product color or the quantity shipped. And hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers that this will give me some insights that I didn't even know about prior to getting this data. So I'll give this another second here, let this finish up. Now, that's not good. Sorry about that. Let me jump back to my other one. Might have got timed out. I apologize on that. So this is the exact same one, product color and quantity shipped. Now, as I jump in here, what I see is I've got a couple of, you know, I can see the same targets that I had. It gives me my data quantity score, so it says there's 11 issues with the data. I can click more to learn about that. I can look at some analysis details, right? So it actually used all my inputs successfully. I've got some association between my fields, so it says that I've got 13 strong associations between my different columns. I might want to explore that a little bit further, but the big thing I want to focus on here is kind of the core body, right? I've got this little bullseye, and I really want to get as close to the center on this product color as possible. And what that's telling me is the statistical significance of the prediction made. So as I look here at this single field of what influences product color, you know, not high and predictive, it's about a 48%, but it's a good start. So let's actually dive in a little bit and see if we can't get some more insight into this. So simply clicking on it will open up that model and tell me a little bit more about, you know, what's driving that color. And in this example, product type is driving my product color. You know, a little bit tough to kind of see some of this info, but if I kick over to the details, I can get a little bit more information about what's driving that product color. So for binoculars, for example, I can see that my product color of black is kind of the main culprit, you know, of the product color, or what's driving that product, right? Some good information. It's nice, it's visual, it helps me understand, but it's not super statistically significant for me to actually paint any type of understanding of what's going on with that data. So maybe I want to come back and I want to get a little bit more predictive. So I started with a 1 field, you know, I can go to 2 or I can go to a combination where I can actually get a little bit more detailed with how many inputs are impacting what I'm trying to identify as my target, right? So you notice as I jumped out to a combination, I've gone from about a 50 to a 60, which still isn't great. It's a little bit better, but I have some different options available, right? So I can look at things by, you know, product type, unit cost, product color. The one that I'm curious about is this decision tree. right? So I can actually run a decision tree and see kind of what's impacting certain colors or offerings, right? So I'm looking at the highest. Maybe I want to look at silver because I know that that's selling really well. So I can jump over to my silver and kind of see on a decision tree standpoint, you know, kind of what's driving that purchase of a silver product or a silver color, right? So maybe it's product type, it's irons. Looks like I've got some items there. But if I really want to see this in a different way, less of a decision tree, maybe it's more of a, you know, the rules associated, I can simply come to the left here and actually understand a little bit more about silver. You know, what's driving that purchase of silver, or, you know, has it pulled up in ash? Let's jump down to silver and kind of see that. So if I'm purchasing golf equipment and irons, according to this model, I'm 100% likely to purchase something that's silver. That's pretty interesting. I mean, that's a good sign to know. If I purchase camping equipment and cooking gear and the unit cost is greater than $23, I have a 96% likelihood that I purchase something silver. Okay, that's another good, insightful little nugget that I can take back to Spencer. So it looks like, you know, silver, we've got products and golf equipment, some stuff in camping gear that's moving. If I scroll down a little bit further, I can see some little bit less significant stuff. But same thing, camping gear, cooking equipment, mountaineering equipment, tools. So really, from my perspective, I've been able to identify a couple key customers or countries we're shipping objects to, as well as some colors and what's impacting them, right? Going into this, I didn't know that we were only selling silver goods that were either golf or cooking gear. But kind of looking at this, I'm very quickly able to identify that silver applies to those key areas, and with some statistical significance that applies. Now, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I've got some insights. I want to actually take this and be able to kind of show this in a very visual representation for Spencer at our 1130. So I'm going to come back to the main area here where I've got this assemble feature. And what this enables me to do is grab that same data set and start to actually build out a little bit more of a dashboard, right? I can do some infographics, I can build a story, more of a slideshow, but I just want to start as kind of a quick high-level dashboard. I've only got about 7 minutes before he and I are going to meet. So I'm just going to create this quick, and I'm going to start dragging and dropping, right? So Watson Analytics enables me to just do a simple drag and drop to actually get that data and that information onto my workspace area. So if I wanted to just start with product color and quantity, right, I can simply just drag this over. Maybe it's my quantity shipped, right? Watson Analytics is building those charts for me, right? I didn't have to choose a chart type. It naturally just said, based upon the data you got, Andrew, here's the best option. It's a bar chart. Here's how it looks. I can see the quantity shipped is summing. Maybe in the upper right, I actually want to see something by product line and warehouse branch. So I'm going to grab my warehouse branch and drag that. Maybe I want to grab my product line and drag that. And maybe I want to add in one more thing with my opening inventory. Now, hopefully this gives me the right view. It's kind of a little chunky. I'm not a big fan of this. So I can actually come in here and simply change that visualization to match a little bit more of what I'm looking for. I think a heat map would be a good example of this, where I can actually paint some pictures as far as my product line and my warehouse and how much we're shipping. That looks a little bit clearer. I can start to identify kind of where we're shipping, what's being shipped. But I also want to have the ability to pull a couple items and be able to slice and dice. So I might just drag in my year and a month, right, and kind of build out a natural hierarchy. Now, that actually took it and built a chart, but I just want to make this a hierarchy so I can start to interact with that data and slice and dice and watch things update. The last thing that I really want to add in the upper right is I want to add that quantity shipped by a product line. So I'm just going to come up to the top here, and I'm going to let Watson build it for me just using a smart search. So I'm going to just type in quantity shipped, if I could spell right, by product line. And it's actually going to go out and grab that data and provide me with a view of that information. So I didn't have to drag and drop. I can just ask it, once again, a natural question that I'm curious about, and let Watson Analytics build that for me. So it's produced a graph or a chart. I'm going to add that in. You know, maybe this isn't quite what I'm looking for. Maybe I want to make this a pie chart. I can come back and flip this out to a pie. I like that a little bit better. That looks good. So I'm feeling pretty good about this graph and this dashboard. It's going to help me explain and kind of answer Spencer's questions about who, what, when, where, why. Now, the other thing I can also do is I can simply just start interacting with this, right? So just by clicking on a year or a month, right, I can watch my data start to update and interact. Now, I can also do that, not only just clicking on individual kind of dimensions from that hierarchy, but if I wanted to know more about Clear, I can simply click on Clear and see kind of what products or what product line all of the Clear products are coming from. So camping equipment, outdoor protection, well, that's good. Same thing if I wanted to see something with silver, right? So it's just the ability for me to quickly start to click and just watch the information change and morph to help me answer questions. So there's a lot more to Watson Analytics. I know we're running a little short on time. I hope this was very beneficial. I want to open this up for Q&A. If there are any questions about Watson Analytics, what it's doing, how it's working, we'll kind of open up the phones here for the next 3 or 4 minutes. So feel free to unmute and fire away.
I know you did a great job, Andrew, but no questions?
We might be having that. I know in the past we've had a couple issues with the phone line, so I'm sorry, guys. If
that could be it, too. There could be 3 people talking right now and looking for a response. So we'll go ahead and assume that there's no questions. However, if there is, I'll see if Andrew can pull up that slide with my contact info again. Please feel free to reach out to me. Again, via phone, email, please let me know if you have any follow-up questions, if you'd like to see a deeper dive demo, anything like that, let me know. We're here to help. Happy Friday, everybody. Have a great weekend. And if there's no questions, we'll let everybody go. Thanks, everybody.